She was a single mom, 2 kids, $15,000 saved, and conventional financing was not an option for her. So she found a different way in. I'm going to tell you what happened next in a few minutes because it's the reason why I do what I do and is the reason I started this podcast. But first, let me tell you who I am and why any of this matters. Welcome to the Wealth with Notes podcast. I'm Sierra Davis, a private fund manager and asset manager in the note investing space and wife, a mom born and raised in Kansas City. And this show is about one thing: building wealth through private financing and note investing. The real mechanics, the real deals, the real story behind what it looks like to be the bank instead of the borrower. Some episodes it's just going to be me. In some episodes, I bring in people who are operating in this space and are generous enough to pull back the curtain on what it actually took. Either way, you're going to walk away with something you can actually use. And this is episode 1, and I'm so grateful you are here. Let's go. Before I tell you my story, I need to give you some context because the opportunity I'm going to walk you through today exists because of a problem, a real one, and that is affecting people across the country right now. After the 2008 financial crisis, everything changed. So banks put up bigger walls, larger down payments, stricter documentation requirements, more hoops, more paperwork, more reasons to say no. And at the exact same time, a different shift was happening. More people were moving towards self-employment, entrepreneurship, side businesses, creative income. And the thing about the kind of income is that your W-2 does not always tell the whole story. You might have the liquidity, you might be able to make the payment every month without blinking, but your paperwork does not show it the way the bank wants to see it. So you might get denied. And then institutional buyers come in and purchase inventory at scale, turning single family homes into rentals, which means that the supply of homes people can actually buy shrinks. Your rent goes up, and the person who is paying more in rent than they would on a mortgage deal cannot get a bank to say yes. That is the gap. In the past couple years alone, there has been over 80,000 seller financed mortgages across America because when the bank says no, someone has to step in, and that someone is me. But I did not start here. I started at a desk. I'm a data scientist by trade. I've worked in healthcare, I worked in marketing and tech, startups, oil and gas, and spent almost 10 years building models, analyzing data, looking for patterns and uncertainty. And I got my MBA. I climbed the ladder everyone said to climb. And at that point, I had over $60,000 in student loan debt and wealth building strategy that came down to one word: hope. Put money in the market, check the account quarterly, hope it went up, hope nothing happened, hope the Fed did not announce something on Tuesday that sent everything sideways, or this administration or any administration just kind of blowing up your portfolio by saying something or tweeting something. And I'm wired to find certainty in data. Hoping made me uncomfortable in a way I could not ignore. So I started asking different questions. Not how do I grow my wealth, but how does wealth actually work at the structural level? This is where my cousin sat me down and introduced me to private lending and notes. When someone buys a house using a loan, two things get created. So there's a security instrument, whether it's a deed of trust or a mortgage, which is tied to the property, and the note, which is basically a promissory note, and that's a promise to repay. The note is what I buy. I am not the landlord. I have no tenants. I don't fix toilets. I don't repair things that happen in the property. I don't manage the property. I don't have any 2 a.m. phone calls. I'm the lender and I'm the bank. The borrower sends payments to me every month, and these payments are backed by real assets. And I can see the collateral, and I can read the loan terms, and I can evaluate the risk before I commit a single dollar. There's no hoping, no refreshing app to see if I'm red or green today. It's contractual income on a schedule I can see in advance. I spent 7 months researching before I moved a single dollar because that is how I am wired. I do not move without data. In my first deal, I bought performed for a while. My payments hit on schedule. And I remember opening up my account and just sitting there staring at the deposit. And it was not a massive number, but it was there. It was on time, and I didn't have to clock in to get it. I thought, this is real. This actually works. But then it went non-performing. 3 months in, and I had bought it performing. It was doing well. I done my research. I had been careful. It just stopped. And I was sitting there thinking, I had researched this industry for 7 months. I had been delivered about this exact deal, and I'm staring at a note that is not paying and thinking, what do I do now? So here's the thing about understanding the structure of what you own. A setback does not end the story. It just changes the next chapter. I worked through it. So I took the property back through the legal process. I found a new buyer, structured a new deal. And when that buyer paid off early, I took that money and paid down my student loan debt. That was clearing everything. The 60,000, it was gone. Not from a raise, not from a side hustle, not from working more hours at a desk that belonged to someone else, from a structure that kept working even when one piece of it broke down. That was my turning point. Now I want to go back to that story I started with. She was a mom with 2 kids and $15,000 saved, and conventional financing was not an option for her, but seller financing was. She put that $15,000 down, she moved in, and then she did something that I did not expect. Every single year, she paid extra towards the principal. $5,000 extra one year, $8,000 extra another year. This is a single mom with 2 kids aggressively paying down her mortgage because she understood something that most people who rent never get to feel. This is mine, and I'm going to protect it. Today, she has over $150,000 in wealth that was built because seller financing gave her a path that conventional financing could not. That is what this work is actually about. It's not just about you. It is not just about the return on your investment. It's a mother building wealth for her children in a home that belongs to her and her family. And that is the standard I hold every single deal to. That is my goal. In every deal, I want to create 3 wins. My investors receive consistent monthly income backed by real estate. Qualified borrowers get access to home ownership they would not have had otherwise, in my family build sustainable cash flow that lasts. 3 wins, every deal, that's the goal. That is the actual filter I run every opportunity through before I say yes. If a deal cannot do all 3, I do not do that deal. I started this episode with a woman for whom conventional financing was not an option. Seller financing was, and she built $150,000 in equity. That is not an accident. That is what happens when the right structure meets the right opportunity. Someone steps in to make it work for everyone in the room. That is the business I'm building, and that is a podcast you just started listening to. I'm so grateful you are here for episode 1. Here is your 1 action step before episode 2. Go to wealthwithnotes.com and sign up for the 8-day emo course. It is at no cost. It will walk you through exactly how notes work, how they are evaluated, and how to start thinking about building income that is secured by something real. That is where I would start if I was sitting where you are right now. I'll see you next week.